Guys, today we are going to talk about how to navigate family dinners, or I should say holiday parties as well. Could be a family holiday party, it could be a work holiday party. This could actually, at the time we're recording this, it's like the holidays of 2023. We're just a few days away from Christmas, but you could also apply all of this to Thanksgiving or any other holidays where you feel like you're going to be eating amongst other people and you don't know how. It's caused a lot of anxiety for a lot of us, and I completely understand that. Again, whether it's not knowing what kind of food is going to be there, or not being able to sort of measure what you're going to eat, or know what's exactly in the food. If you're on a weight loss journey and you're tracking your calories, especially, I totally understand. So that's what we are going to talk about today, and all of the different ways that you can stay on track while still enjoying yourself, like obviously. So, as you can see, we have my notes in front of you, and what I'm going to be referring to for today's training. So the first tip that I would have, I say this is the first tip because in my mind it's like chronological to the day. This tip is before you even arrive to the dinner or the event or the party, which is to eat lighter in the first half of the day. And what this is going to allow you to do is there's no at midnight, like sort of like, and then all of the calories that you ate in that day count. Like obviously there's like a rollover, right? There's no, like, at midnight your calories stop getting counted, and then the next day. But there is overall a rule in terms of, like, especially if you're trying to lose weight, being in a caloric deficit, you do want to eat less than, or sorry, you want to move more than you consume in terms of your energy being food. And there is a calculation there that you can do. And we've done this in a different training before, so I'm not going to go into that. But either way, I say this to say that using that logic, by eating lighter in the first half of the day, assuming your event is in the later half of the day, I guess I'm not factoring in maybe a breakfast, but just like, doing the best you can, planning in advance that you'd be eating lighter in the second half of the day in that case. But anyway, going back to like most dinners, events, whatever, being in the evening, is eating lighter in the first half of the day, knowing that from the start of the day to the end of the day is how much, when we're measuring our calories for our sake, it just gives you more room. It gives you more flexibility in the second half of the day, in order to, just if you happen to do go over, then good thing that you ate later in the first half of the day. And if you eat later in the first half of the day, then you can intentionally indulge at the family dinner, which is the point, right? To be able to, I do acknowledge that, it's the two things are conflicting, right? Holidays often involve, lots of like theme, and gifts and people, but also food. Food is a big part of, and culture, and it brings emotion, and there's meaning, and there's enjoyment to be had. So I personally, needless to say, my philosophy comes from encouraging you to enjoy yourself, beyond, like, in terms of obviously what you're comfortable with. It doesn't mean you must engage in all the food. Healthy boundaries are certainly healthy, but giving you the option to enjoy it as much as you want to, I guess, is the point. So moving on to the second part is, so once you're at the event, and regardless of if it's a buffet or if you're sitting down and all the food's in front of you and you're helping yourself, or if someone's helping you, in my mind, if we are still following, trying to stay on track with what you were doing every day before that, in my mind, if you're prioritizing protein to, even while you're losing weight, building muscle is important while you're trying to lose weight, and so eating more protein is going to help you with that. In general, I would say healthier foods in my mind, like at events as well. The higher the protein in general, probably like the healthier the food. So adding the protein to your plate first. That is the first thing with the tongs that you put onto your plate, to make sure that you're eating that, and giving yourself a good amount of it to essentially hold yourself accountable. And then find the vegetables. It could be like fruit too, but like I would say, like, if we're following this sort of protein, veggie, carb, and then maybe find dessert that has fruit in it, but we'll get to that. Adding protein to your plate first, and then finding the vegetables. And then finding the carbs and making a plate, and the carbs being like maybe potatoes or rice or whatever, or pasta. So making your plate look like mostly protein, lots of vegetables, and some carbs, in the same way that you would on a regular day, but also just like making a smaller plate at first. And actually, like, I didn't even think of this until now. I was just recently for my own birthday, side story, but this is important, at a buffet, and I intentionally went around the whole buffet. Like the line was moving like decently, luckily. But I would put a little bit of everything on my plate because I wanted to try what the restaurant had in terms of everything for the buffet. And I made it a small plate because I didn't want to fill up on foods that were just like tester foods, right? So I made a small plate of everything. Like, so like at your dinner, I would like sort of make a small plate of everything, but mostly protein, some veggies, some carbs, so that you can try them. Maybe there's more than one kind of vegetable and you just like want to try it first. But by making smaller portions, it doesn't hold you accountable to eating a whole plate. So if you make a plate that's too big, you might feel like you are wasting food by throwing it out. So you might feel tempted to eat it all. But by making a smaller plate, you aren't holding yourself accountable to that whole thing. And that way you can, if other food gets introduced, or if you like don't see something or dessert, you can save more room for that if your first sort of serving is smaller. Anyway, that is my recommendation for how to approach that. And that leads into my next point where I write eat until you're 80% full. So again, if that plate is about 80% of what a usual plate would look like for you, that's good. That's a good start. Drinking lots of water and using the bathroom, that's just going to help you with your digestion. And you're going to overall have like I feel like a healthier relationship with, yourself and your food and what you just ate. If you don't feel like you sat there and your stomach feels like you're bloated and it feels hard and it feels like it's sticking out and pressing against your belt. If you drink a lot of water and you go to the bathroom, then you're never going to, face that issue, or less likely to face that issue, I should say. And yeah, just I think that's more of a, and helping with your digestion is obviously good for so many other reasons, but I think that I attribute to drinking a lot of water and walking around to never really feeling like and feeling more fit and just feeling healthier and happier. So, okay, next point is people's comments about what you're eating or not eating is their business. So, yeah, while it might suck to hear something like, well, you know what? Okay, like if you have, your protein, your veggies, and your carbs on your plate, and if you're following my advice and their carbs are the last thing, and they're maybe like not as a mountainous of a mashed potato as Aunt Mary over here, who's just like with the gravy boat. If someone says something, it's like, what is the obsession? Like, how does what I'm eating affect you? But I know that we're, as humans, we are just, not judgmental creatures, but we do like to just, it's, I think how we also form connection with other people is just making comments and be like, oh, you like lots of spice, like interesting. Like we just sort of make those comments. So I think that if someone is making a comment about what you put on your plate, whether you're serving a small or whether you're like eating healthy and they're like shaming you for that, I would just encourage you to, because I don't think there's one right way. And I know I want to acknowledge that some people are more, prone or afraid, or afraid is the wrong word, but just, not wanting to get into conflict. I totally understand. So whether you just want to ignore it or whether you want to tell them it's none of your business, whoever, I think it's your call. I tend to just like call me avoidant, but I don't. I want to conserve my own energy. I don't really engaging with it and fighting with someone about that comment doesn't really like give me energy or joy. So I tend to just brush it off, and it doesn't bother me. But however you want to handle those comments, apologize in advance if you feel like you're going to get them. Perhaps you are someone who is trying to lose weight and you feel like, and I do have many clients that are this way, their family and their whole environment sort of encourages that, eating lots of food and getting healthy is like sort of like cultish. I acknowledge that you might be in the minority by eating more healthy, but I just do encourage you to sort of stand strong in your, what you're doing. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not hurting other people. You're just trying to be more mindful about your health and your weight loss journey. And so it might You might be eating differently than you usually do. Okay, so the next point is to, I guess this is just optional, but bringing your own, well, you can bring your own food as well. That might border on being a little bit antisocial. So, as to my last point, I think that if you brought your own, like chicken, broccoli, rice, but unless you're competing in a fitness competition, I think people have to understand. But you will get less resistance, or for lack of a better word, if you don't bring your own food and you just sort of, again, you want to enjoy, all of the holidays pleasures, like I was saying before. So being able to just eat what they have there might be an easier route than bringing your own food. But I feel like it is socially acceptable to bring, and not like rude, to bring your own drink, like your own alcohol, especially if the event is BYOB. So bringing your own drink, whether it's Diet Coke or like a Diet Pop, if you're, keep staying sober. But then when it's your own alcohol, you can bring like vodka soda, or wine, or something that's like on the lower end of calories and being more thoughtful, rather than chucking like beer after beer back, or like all of the sugary drinks that might be served. Having your own alcohol or having your own beverage, if it's not alcoholic, that's fine, is going to help you, again, have more control. And same goes with dessert. So I'm going to be bringing my own dessert to a few of the different holiday parties that I'm going to, because I've been sharing some holiday recipes with you guys, and I like to show them off. And they're high pro, like this is, I'm following my own advice. I like dessert, but I like healthy. Like I want to be, muscular and keep my fat off. So if I can eat dessert and it's going to be healthy and high protein, then like why not? So I also don't mind bringing it, because everyone feels like usually they should bring something. Those are the kinds of parties that I tend to go to, I guess. So that is my contribution, because I know that there's going to be like meat and veggies that, I feel confident about that. But it's usually the dessert that it's, if you don't bring your own high protein, low calorie dessert, there's only going to be, high calorie, low protein options. So I bring my own. But that doesn't mean that I won't have like one. Again, I won't try. It's just like the dessert part is like I have a sweet tooth, so that is a part that I focus on adding a more element of control. Okay, awesome. So the next point I already went over, depending on the comment, deal in a way that works for you. And then my final tip is just the next day, going back to your normal routine. So a lot of people think that, or I will say, like in the past, there's a few things that happen. Like a bunch of my clients will feel really guilty on the next morning, or like if events on the weekend, they tend to feel guilty in the next week. Rarely, or sometimes, again, it happens, some clients will like overcompensate, so they'll do extra, and they'll like, I can't recall like people doing extra and then burning out. But I say this to say that a lot of clients will treat the next week, or they'll act differently. But I think that if you just go back to your regular routine, then if you just want things to go back to the way they were, then just do the things that you were doing, rather than like trying to reverse and like, again, overcompensate or feel like guilty about it. Those are only going to get in your way of your goal, which is just going back to what you're doing. And so just going back to what you're doing is exactly what you should do. So that is all, guys. So I hope you have a great holiday season and you enjoy your holiday parties. I hope that all of this advice was helpful with respect to how to navigate showing up to a family dinner and staying on track with your calorie intake and your macros, as well as your mindset before, during, and after the party, as well as how to deal with any comments that you might get while you're there. I don't want to scare you and say that it's going to happen. That's just like an if it does happen, because I've had a few people tell me that that's what they're nervous about because it's happened to them. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were covered in that way. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day. By the way, if I post this in the Facebook group, which I'm going to for this challenge, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know what your biggest takeaways were. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll chat soon. See ya.